Marvel fans, comic geeks, and all nerds in between. My name is Megan, and I'm here to talk about X-Men 97 Season 2, Episode 6. I don't know how to say the title. It's Danger.Exe? Danger.Exe? Someone smarter than me tell me how to say it. I don't know. We're here to talk about my favorite episode so far, the Lorna Dane episode, My Girl Polaris, on full display. And if you enjoyed this episode, you're welcome, because this episode was made specifically for me, and nothing you can say will ever talk me out of thinking that. This was a fantastic episode through and through. Life knew I had a lot going on, so it gifted me with the Polaris episode finally, and I've had a smile on my face ever since. So, in the 6th episode, Danger.Exe reminds you that the X-Men should always have a little edge to them. The ending especially leans into that feeling, pulling ideas from Grant Morrison's 2001 overhaul of the franchise and Jonathan Hickman's Krakoa era from 2019, arguably two of the biggest "what if we completely changed everything" moments in modern X-Men history. But the episode also brings in a different kind of slight discomfort by borrowing heavily from Joss Whedon's Astonishing X-Men, right down to using Danger as the main villain, which is a choice, kind of like discovering your old favorite movie was directed by someone you'd rather not Google anymore. But it was a choice that worked. Never did I think we were ever going to get a Danger episode. And here we are. But we will get into it. While the main villain was Danger, let's not get it twisted. This was a Polaris episode. Through and through. It's just... We'll also get into that. The story kicks off with the X-Men trying to pretend life can go back to normal after everything that's happened this season, which is a whole lot. Xavier's school is open again. Storm has taken over as headmistress, as she should. And the student roster is basically a comic fan roll call. You have Dupe, Shark Girl, Eye-Boy, Glob Herman, Generation X members like Chamber and Penance, and to a lot of people's dismay, Quentin Quire, who is Kid Omega, who I was excited to see. But I will say he was an insufferable little thing here, which is on brand. The team gets some upgrades too. Bishop is finally a full-time member instead of just popping in whenever the timeline feels like it. And Polaris joins up after getting kicked out of X Factor for reaching the completely reasonable conclusion that maybe working alongside people who support Reverend Stryker's purifiers isn't the healthiest work environment. And may I say, she was right. You were too good for X Factor. You're too good for every team. Just do whatever you like, sweetie. You're doing amazing. And may I just say, when Polaris was fired from X Factor, I feel like you could really clearly see Scott in Havoc. For those that don't know, Scott and Alex Summers are brothers. They are Cyclops and Havoc. And you could really see the family resemblance there in the dink behavior, I guess you could say. And it was... There's a Summers family quality, and it is very large. So, of course, business as usual never really existed for the X-Men. They're mutants. Evolving is kind of their thing. So, alongside everyone rocking Frank Quietly's sleek biker jacket costumes from the Morrisons run, Xavier starts evolving his dream too. Instead of putting all his energy into the school, which he's not even a headmaster of anymore, he launches X-Corp by the episode's end. This show is hilariously vague about what X-Corp actually is, and honestly, the comics aren't much more helpful. But judging how annoyed Val Cooper looks, Xavier is making a move toward mutant sovereignty that feels very Krakoa adjacent. Like every episode in X-Men 97, Danger.Exe somehow crams an absurd amount of story into 30-ish minutes. The difference is that this one actually breathes. While last week's episode, Weapon X, Lies, and DVDs speed ran through major character beats like it had somewhere to be, this episode really finds a good balance between huge action scenes and meaningful character development. That balance is obvious from the opening scene. Xavier repeatedly uses the Danger Room to relive Magneto's final moments, which initially feels concerning, I guess. You start wondering if Charles is doing okay. Then he starts yelling at the Danger Room for violating his own safety protocols, and suddenly everything clicks. 1, the Danger Room has developed a mind of its own, neatly introducing the episode's villain. 2, Xavier isn't technically spiraling, but he's deliberately putting himself through this because he's questioning whether his entire philosophy still works. It's basically therapy, except your therapist can shoot lasers at you, which I think would be really helpful form of therapy. I'd like to try it. That same struggle shows up in Polaris, who finally gets some much deserved attention. Finally. Even in the comics, she is criminally underrated, especially with how strong she is, how rich her background is, how integrated she is in the world of mutants. Underrated. She always gets watered down to Magneto's daughter or Havoc's girlfriend. I could go on for a really long time about this. But if you want to know more about Lorna Dane, aka Polaris, because she's amazing and you should, just wait till the end of the episode and my episode, a character breakdown of Polaris, will pop up and you click it and you will like it. I hope. Anyways, Lorna has spent her time at X Factor trying to be a model mutant alongside her boyfriend Havoc, who's wonderfully comic accurate here as an earnest, self-righteous dick. And I say that with love. Alex Summers has never met an overconfident speech he didn't like. Eventually, Lorna reaches her breaking point. She refuses to keep playing nice with people who openly want mutants exterminated, gets kicked off the team for it, and heads back to the X-Men. So that should tell you that team did not have mutant priorities in mind, which you should have already known when they were locking them up, all the young mutants. I think it was like in the second episode. Carolina Ravassa, the voice actor for Lorna, absolutely sells Polaris, giving her a tough, raspy determination that fits someone who's still trying to believe in Xavier's dream, even as Magneto's worldview starts making more and more sense. I really liked how there was a looming Magneto presence, and it was used to show like father, like daughter vibes, but it still didn't take away from Lorna as a whole. Yes, she's the daughter of Magneto, but as Yondu in Guardians of the Galaxy once said, he may be your father, but he ain't your daddy. Lorna doesn't view Magneto as a father figure, as he was never there to raise her. She came from a foster life before she moved into the X-Mansion, and now that she's back at the X-Mansion, she's fitting in quite nicely off the bat. Her internal conflicts pairs nicely with Bishop's practical attitude, while also reflecting Xavier's own shift towards something much more radical through X-Corp. Naturally, all of these revelations happen while they're fighting someone literally named Danger. Sometimes subtlety just clocks out for the day. Speaking of Danger, she and several other moments in this episode, like the fake Sentinel attack during the school assembly, come straight from Joss Whedon and John Cassaday's Astonishing X-Men. It's still one of the most influential X-Men runs ever published, even if revisiting it comes with a little unavoidable baggage, if you know what I mean. That makes X-Men 97's willingness to adapt it pretty surprising. But let's talk about the X-Corp. By the end of Polaris' story in the episode, Professor X unveils a new team, X-Corp. Now you're thinking, wait, where have I heard about the X-Corps before? The answer is, the X-Corps are all over the X-Men comics and in different iterations. You have X-Corps, you have X-Corporations, you have the Krakoan era X-Corps. And every version has basically been its own completely different idea because comics love recycling names like they're trying to save the planet. The original X-Corp was founded by Banshee as a paramilitary mutant police force, and from what we see here, the show seems to be somewhat leaning in that direction, but in a more corporate way. Maybe not paramilitary, maybe just more of a mutant police force kind of thing. Whatever Xavier has built, it's definitely making people nervous. The Department of Justice is already preparing to challenge X-Corp's authority, while Charles responds with the mutant equivalent of cool story. Val Cooper is absolutely heated, and the X-Men, they barely blink. Mostly because they've got way bigger problems than government paperwork. Charles reveals he senses danger, and when Professor X says he has a bad feeling, you don't just ask him to walk it off. For a few reasons. His attention immediately shifts to the biggest threat on board, Apocalypse. Then the episode gives us a moment we've all been impatiently waiting for. We cut to Athens. But also real quick, do you know who makes an appearance in this episode? The Watcher. Watch right as we arrive to Athens and you'll see Uatu in the sky. The homie is always watching. Anyways, back to Athens. where an empty casket sits there looking all vague and mysterious. But I know what's about to happen. You know what's about to happen. And we're all here for it. The Raging Cajun himself, Gambit, he is back. But not exactly in the way anyone assumed. Well, I guess a lot of us assumed. Well, I guess in a way everyone assumed. He's returned as one of Apocalypse's horsemen, and the makeover goes hard. The signature deck of playing cards, gone. Now he's wielding tarot cards because apparently Apocalypse believes in committing to the aesthetic. The entire vibe shifts instantly. Our boy is back. He's got a terrifying new look, a terrifying new boss, and he's about to make us do the one thing X-Men fans are genetically incapable of resisting: rooting for a villain who is just way too cool. So, honestly, I loved this episode up and down. I have watched it twice already, and I'm probably going to watch it a whole bunch more times. So if you see me in the airport tomorrow, which that's where I'll be, watching X-Men 97, just mind your business because I am living my best life. So please let me know in the comments what you thought of this episode. Did you love it as much as me? Were you into it? Were you not into it? I don't know. Just let me know in the comments. And with that being said, be sure to like and subscribe and have a marvelous day.